Hello. Okay. It's been a few days. Yeah, there's reasons why it's been a few days. That's okay. We can take a break. Stuff happened, okay? Stuff happened. A lot of stuff happened. My God, it's been a week. A week! I've heard the expression, and I'm going to butcher this expression to be very clear. Something like some months, weeks happen, and some weeks, months happen. This has been one of those weeks where years have happened within a span of a single week. It has been insane, crazy, super busy, insane. I just didn't have time for YouTube. And living room is the sled mess. Ignore the mess. Ignore. But I have something to show you. Because last time we were playing, weren't we? Mm-hmm. It is. Isn't it so pretty? If the camera will focus on it. Ooh, camera. There we go. Kinda. There we go. That's what we want to see. You see, isn't it beautiful? Yeah, the green and the black. This is 12 grams. And I spun 20 grams of the black single. This is how much of the black single I've got left. How silly is that? It's absurd. It's not great, is it? No, this isn't good. That means I've spun about, or applied about 6 grams of the black single. And since I've spun. Can you tell I haven't been awake that long? Ignore the time on there. That time is wrong. That clock needs regulating, so it's not quite on the right time, but it's fine. Like, it's way too fast. So it's on completely the wrong time. So ignore that clock. It's wrong. If you can even see the time. I can't at the moment because like basically where the stop button is like right here. So I can't see that clock. But you can see it. And I'm telling you it's wrong. But anyway, it's a lot earlier than that. And I haven't been awake that long. And I'm like, you know what? I haven't recorded in several days. Let's record. Anyway. So 6 grams of the single, of the 20 grams I spun, have gone into this. Meaning, that's what, 24? This is, no, not 24, 14. This is 14 grams of a single black. So I'd be better off when I work on this project again, which I am going to continue working on it, is to spin probably like 14 or 15, maybe to give myself a bit of leeway. Some 15 grams of the green single rather than the full 20. And then that will allow me then to get closer to having these two match. They'll never perfectly match, but this is pretty bad. Hopefully I can get them matched better than that. Good grief. But I'm really happy with this. This is really cool. Nice little mini skein. Woot! And it is a fingering weight. Mm-hmm. A light fingering. Yes. And I have other things to show you too. Like this. Excitement. Now you might look at this and be like, I don't understand. Where is the excitement? Where is the excitement? 3 empty bobbins. Before, I had merely 3 bobbins total. Now I have 4. I bought another bobbin. And it arrived. And I was kind of worried because when I bought one of my other bobbins earlier this year, when I bought my 3rd one, I got a 16-gram sample, which became the merino silk blend that I was spinning at the very start of this tour de fleece. I think I was playing it actually, I can't quite remember. So I was kind of like, I really hope I don't get more fiber because I don't need more fiber. I don't need. And thankfully I didn't. So that is excellent. So now I have 3 empty bobbins, which is good because I'm slightly bored with this project. And that's okay. That's okay. We can move on. I have plenty of other things to be working on, so long as I work from stash. That's my only rule. I have to work from my stash. So, what have I been doing? Well, this is 2.2 ounces, I think. And this is my drop spindle Penny. Named Penny because she came from Pennsylvania. And people name their wheels. And I've never seen anyone name their spindles. Justice for the spindles. Justice. Penny! Penny the drop spindle. With the leader that's been on there since forever. Probably even since I started spinning, honestly. It's probably how long that leader has been on there. I don't know. And it will continue. It's fine. But 2.2 ounces is quite... I mean, when you look at... This is black, so it's kind of hard to see. But you can kind of see. You know, that's quite fine, right? My spinning by default is quite fine, and I don't know how to spin thick yet. I will learn, but I'm probably not going to learn that during this Tour de Fleece, to be clear. So I thought, well, okay then. 2.2 ounces. What do I have that's lighter? Well, my support spindle is lighter, so... Hello. Hi. Greetings. Borda. Wasn't this nice? Yep. This is my support spindle. And the past few days I've just been working on this every once in a while. I did actually attempt to record a video twice this week, and both times I went, no, no. That sucks. That was really bad. The first time I was just ranting about how stressed I was. That was the entire video, and I'm like, oh no, I'm not uploading that. No way. And the second one was better, but no. It was better, but still pretty bad. No, even I would not upload that. No. I'm not going to inflict that on you. I'm sorry. So, this is a much more positive video, okay? Even if I look a bit tired. That's okay. So, this is so pretty. I really like this colour. It's kind of like this citrus. The colour's like reasonably accurate. It looks slightly more yellow on camera, but only very slightly. The colour is reasonably accurate. So this is pretty good. So my plan is, this is BFL. Oh, well, you're using different fibres, are you? After spinning Corriedale for most of your spinning career? I'm like, yes, indeed. Other than that silk merino blend. That was a little sample. That's probably the only other time I've spun anything other than Corriedale. So I'm like, I'm expanding my wings. And I'm trying some BFL. So the plan is with this project is I will spin one single of the BFL and 2 singles of yellow Corriedale. And then I'll apply those 3 together to make my first ever 3-ply. And that should be wonderful. And it'll be a lovely yellowy colour, and it'll have just like a little bit of depth to it because this isn't quite the same colour. This isn't like a super bright yellow, while the Corriedale absolutely is a super bright yellow. So that'll be wonderful, won't it? And because it's a 3-ply, it'll be more durable for socks. Because, you know, general sock advice is like, oh, a 3-ply is better than a 2-ply usually. So, you know, I will use some of this for socks, definitely. I have loads of it. I've been spinning that barber pole for probably about a year, and I've been making different skeins of that same style. So some of that will be socks, but because I kind of want, because everyone says, oh, you have to have nylon in your socks. But I'm like, humans have had nylon-free socks for hundreds and hundreds of years. And I feel like it's only really necessary because people are using things like merino. And merino I don't think is suitable for socks. Because merino's got like a really short staple length, which is why it's like really soft and squishy. And it has like a really weird feeling to it. Like it's kind of like, I don't want to say silky, but that's kind of what comes into my head. Which is nice, but I do like a bit more tooth. I do like a bit more tooth, I'm not going to lie. And also, a bit more tooth is more durable. So I'm going to, well, not even try. I'm going to avoid using nylon in my socks. But I want to try different breeds and see how that affects the durability to try and make the most durable, comfortable socks ever. You know? So that's kind of like a long-term goal, and it's kind of virtually the reason why I started spinning, not gonna lie. Not quite. I kind of always wanted to do it, but this is just like giving me an excuse to get started kind of last year. So BFL and 2 bright yellow Corriedale, and that will be beautiful. Beautiful. Also, this is the spinning bowl. Yay. I do think the paint job on this is a little bit crude. So I'm kind of half tempted to take the spinning bowl and kind of sand it back and repaint it. And also, spindles get names. Spindles get named because people name their wheels, but no one names their spindles, which is an injustice. We name the spindles. You name your wheel Betty or whatever, then guess what? I'm going to name my spindles because I don't have a wheel. So, I need to think of a name. I like the yellow and you know, you got the yellow and the red. I don't know. And I like names that are kind of like floral. I do. So it needs to be red or yellow themed. Red or yellow flower. Poppy. Yes. I did actually think about this beforehand, and I thought, ooh, maybe dandelion. And I thought, well, dandelion's very Witcher. Everyone associates that with the Witcher. So maybe not. And then I thought, oh, daffodil. And for some reason, daffodil just didn't sound like a name to me. So I've kind of been thinking over it over the past few days, which is silly. And I thought, yes, Poppy. Poppy, the support spindle. The wonderful support spindle. I haven't been great fun with this. What I've done is I have weighed out 20 grams of this. So I have 20, 20, 20. And then I'll apply this together. Yeah. And these bobbins! That's why I bought a 4th bobbin. Because I'm like, I don't want to be working on that project or having to force myself to empty that bobbin before I carry on with this project. So it's fine. I don't want to be drowning in bobbins. And equally, I don't want to be drowning in like works in progress either. Very much so. But I think we're not really in much danger of that. As long as I, you know, focus in each project and make a difference in each one. As long as I'm, you know, putting in flow into each project, eventually they will get done. And I'm not going to worry too much about it. I'm going to let spinning be, you know, chill, low pressure, not going to worry about it. I might come to regret the lack of worry. Oh, I'm kidding. Maybe. Who knows? Who knows? Okay. As for my week, this is the part where I stop talking about spinning and I start talking about random stuff. So feel free to click off if you're only here for the spinning. If you want to hear me ramble about stuff, then you stay. Otherwise, it's okay, it's fine. I mean, it's fine. Don't worry, everything is fine. Because I am not here for the algorithm. I'm here because I simply like making videos. That's the only reason. So it's okay. Right. So this week. Okay. Sunday. I think Sunday was the time we last saw each other. Maybe, not sure. But Sunday night, you know, I go to bed and I'm like, yeah, tired and all the rest of it. And dogs aren't here, they're at my parents' house. And I go upstairs, I go into the bedroom, I, you know, I think I have a cup of tea. I have my cup of tea and I'm going with this. And I go up to the window and I look out over at the mountains. I'm in a valley. Picture this. I'm in a valley and I walk and I have a keyhole view. So the keyhole view, because the valley is kind of slanted, there's like a weird keyhole view that just by sheer coincidence of where the mountains are and such, I can see a surprising far distance into the Canadae. And what is the Canadae? Well, you have probably heard of Snowdon, or Weather. You've probably heard of it. And that's the biggest mountain in Wales. And around that is, big mountain range, big national park, all the rest of it. Well, the Canadae they are up, they are on the side. So they're basically like on the northeast side of that broader, bigger mountain range. So that is the Canadae range. Okay, that's roughly where they are. And that includes things like, I don't think Conway Mountain technically counts as part of the Canadae. I don't think it technically counts. It's kind of like on the edge of near where the Canadae starts is Conway Mountain. And then before Conway Mountain, you've got the Great Orme, which isn't really a mountain. I think it's more of a hill. And then before that, you've got the Little Orme. And then before that, you've got like Llandillas Hill. And then before that, like moving east, but after Llandillas Hill, you've got, I think you get into the Flint Range at that point. And then you get into Flint Mountain and all the, I'm not exactly sure. I don't know the names of every single mountain on the North Wales coast, to be clear. I know a lot of them, but I don't know all of them. So, where I live, I've got a little valley, and I've got like a keyhole view through the mountains. And this isn't doxing myself because this encompasses a massive area, okay? Huge. Miles and miles and miles and miles. Ridiculously big. So, and I can see across into the mountains, as can, a huge range of people in North Wales, right? A lot of the people will be able to see into this mountain range. And this keyhole view I've got because of my position in the valley. Because most people with the really good views, I'd say, would be sort of up in the hills and stuff. I can see through. I've got this good view. And, I look out and I see that view, sort of every night. I see the sun setting behind the mountains and stuff. And I look across and I'm like, I could see the shape of the hills and stuff and all the rest of it. And I'm looking across and I'm thinking, well, there's a bunch of farmland and all the rest of it. I can see a bunch of farms. Most of Wales is farms, honestly. And most people live on the coast, and then sort of the interior of Wales is mostly farms and stuff. So, not all, but mostly. It's rural in it. So, I look across and I'm like, this looks weird. On the distance, I can kind of see on sort of, bear in mind I can see some big mountains from like proper Canadae. And then I can see some like little mountain slope hills that, are quite far away. So I can't really tell if they're mountains or hills or whatever. So, and I don't know every single peak, as I mentioned. So I'm like looking across and I'm like, there must be some like emergency services parked on that hill. There must be some emergency services parked right there, because I can see some lights, some like orangey lights I can see, and I'm looking across and I'm like, that looks weird. And I thought, well, I wonder where that is. So I look on my Google Maps and I scroll about and I'm like, I can't work out where that is. And my Google Maps is quite zoomed in, and I'm kind of like looking across and I'm like, and then I look at my phone. My phone's got really good zoom. So, I position my phone across and I zoom in, and my phone can't pick up anything. It just picks up like 2 orange pixels. So I'm like, my phone normally can pick up stuff from quite far away, I don't always use my phone like binoculars, but I have been known to, and it can pick up a surprising amount of detail. So I'm like, that means that must be quite far away, like much further than I kind of thought it was in my head. So I'm like, that must be quite far away if it can't pick it up. So I look a little bit longer and I sort of think to myself, you know, I wonder if it's a lot further away. And I look on Google Maps and so forth. And then the more I look at it, the more I think to myself, that's getting bigger. And I look at it, and it initially looked like two like twinkling dots like this, hence why I thought it was emergency services. And then I noticed it's got turned into quite the big glow, especially since the light is fading now. And I see quite a big glow. And then I'm like, is that smoke? That's a fire. And I'm like, oh, the farmer's burning something. Oh, no, why? The farmer burns stuff quite often, and it's kind of annoying, to be entirely honest. And you're like, okay. You know, you quite often do it in like the middle of like the day and stuff. And I'm like, okay, what is put the washing out? And now I can't. Thanks, guy, thanks. But this was way further than that. So I thought to myself, but that's not, you know, the farmer, because that's further away. So that can't be him. And also it's up on the hill. Isn't that weird? And I thought, has someone called that in? And, you know, so I was like looking on the map being like, well, where is it? So I looked on the map and so forth. And then I zoomed out in Google Maps. So you know, I pinched in so I had more of a view of North Wales. And then I saw exactly, because you can see where your gyroscope is, like where your compass is pointing you. And I followed where my compass was pointing me, and then straight in that direction, wildfire. And I'm like, oh crap. So I look across there and I think to myself, oh, no. And I thought, that's really big. That's really, really big. That's really bad. And then as I look across there and I realize where it is, I'm like, that's Talavan. This hill that I was looking at is a proper mountain, but it's so far away it looks like just like a hill. I'm like, that's Talavan. Or near enough to Talavan. And yeah, there's a big Conway Mountain fire that's really, really bad and apparently been burning since 4 a.m. that same day. So I think to myself, okay, you know, and then I think to myself, well, I've got relatives over in Llandudno Junction, and they're like just across the river, really, from where this is. So I'm like, okay. So, you know, I messaged them saying like, hey, stay indoors, keep your windows shut, keep your doors shut, you know, avoid all the smoke. And rather kind of like, it sounds awful, but rather reassuringly, like the safe place for the evacuations from that area, from, sorry, I've just blanked. The evacuations from that area, the safe place was Llandudno Junction. And I thought, oh, okay, well, but clearly they must think that Llandudno Junction's pretty safe then. And I thought, well, that makes sense because it's right across the river from... And then I kind of look at exactly where it is and I'm like, oh, that's behind Penrhyn. And I thought, yeah, okay. So that's like not... When I talking about Conway Mountain, I was visualising right behind the mountain right behind Conway, but it's actually like further back than that. So, you know, just slightly, like it's more into the Cynadau, like even like slightly on the edge of Cynadau, like more like Talavan than Conway Mountain, I'd say, maybe. I don't know. So, you know, I was having this view of all of that and I was thinking to myself, okay, so, you know, relatives, you know, I'm kind of worried about them with the smoke. That's what I was worried about. So I was like, okay. So I messaged them and, you know, that sort of thing. And they were saying, oh, it's really awful. You know, I really feel for the people. And I'm like, yeah, I really feel for the people. That must be horrible for them, you know? The people who are like living right in this area. Awful, 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 awful. Dreadful. Dreadful for them. Unbelievable. I'm like worrying a little bit about, you know, my relatives because, you know, it's my stepdad's dad has emphysema, and you know, it's like you worry about your elderly relatives with like smoke and stuff like that, and I'm thinking to myself, oh God, you know, should they even still be there? You know, should they go stay at my parents because my parents are further away? And I'm still thinking, oh my God, and I'm just like really like stressing about them. And then the next day comes. Yes, I go to bed, and the next day comes. And then this is Monday. And the parents drop off the dogs back to me. And they're like, hey, there's something wrong with Bella. And I'm like, what do you mean there's something wrong with Bella? And I said, oh, she's got an issue with one of her eyes. And then I look, and she's got an issue with both eyes. And one of her eyes is like this, like barely opening. And I'm like, oh, you know, really, really bad. And my parents are like, oh, you know, we don't know what's wrong with her. She's just woken up like this morning. And I think to myself, and bear in mind, at this point, all around the area, all around where I live and where my parents live, smoke. And it's like really quite thick. Every time you step outside, it really smells like burning wood and stuff like that. It's like a really, really strong smell. And you can't like immediately see it when you step outside. But if you look up a street or like, you know, where a little bit further, you can see there's like this like kind of like fog or mist. And I'm like, that's not fog, that's not mist, that is smoke. And then I kind of realized as well, I'm like, I know where the dogs sleep at my parents'. My mum always has the window open, always. Even in winter, she's that kind of person. She always has the windows open at night. And she wouldn't have known about the smoke coming through. She would have no idea that the smoke was like due to come into that direction. She'd have no idea. So she would have just slept through it. And where Bella sleeps at my parents' house, she sleeps right by the window. She sleeps underneath the window, flat, stretched out on her side. And she sleeps with her eyes open. So I'm like, oh, that's probably smoke irritation. 100%. So I think, oh God. You know. So I'm like really worried about her. And meanwhile, the Labrador, you know, he's fine, but then he looks out the window and sees someone walking past and he barks at them because, you know, he's like a 20-month-old puppy. He barks at them, and then immediately after he's finished barking with him, he starts coughing. And I'm like, oh, crap. You know, like, oh, they've had like smoke exposure. Clearly. So, you know, I basically spend the entire day proper stressing about the dogs and like really, really worried about them. And I messaged my parents being like, hey, can you help me take them to the vet? Because this is really bad. And like really properly stressing over it. And obviously my parents are at work. They can't at that particular time help me take them to the vets. So anyway, they go to the vets later on. And, you know, the Cocker Spaniel gets like a saline wash for her eyes and some painkillers. And the Labrador by that point has like sorted himself out and hasn't coughed since. And I basically closed all the curtains and like did everything I could to stop him from barking, just period. Because I'm like, no, I'm not having you like constantly irritating your throat like that. Not happening. So I closed everything off. And then he seemed fine after that. So he was okay. And he is okay even now. And I'd say my Cocker Spaniel's only like okay today. Like today she's like back to her normal attitude-filled self. And I'm like, oh, okay, you feel much better. And she was like not herself at all on Monday. So I'm like, okay. So Monday was stressful, right? Then Tuesday rolls around. Tuesday, my uncle, I have news about my uncle. My uncle's been in hospital for like a good number of weeks. He has a heart condition. And when I say he has a heart condition, I mean that man has months to live. It's terminal, you know. There's no way he's not a candidate for a heart transplant. It's been going on for years, like most of my life, definitely. He came out of the army and he had a heart attack. He had a stroke and he had another heart attack. He was in the middle of a heart surgery, and then he had a stroke while he was on the operating table, basically. So there was that. He recovered quite well from that, surprisingly. He's had a pacemaker fitted. Then he's had it upgraded multiple times, so it like connects to his phone, which is super weird, but I guess that makes it easier for him. And then it's not just like a pacemaker, but also like a stent as well. He had a stent at one point. So like loads of different things, you know. He's pretty much like, he used to be like really, really fit, right? He came out of the army like really, really fit and stuff, and loves the outdoors and hiking and all this, all the rest of it, and his gardening, loves his gardening. And just over the years, he's just like, the activity levels come down, understandably, because he just isn't able to do it anymore. Anyway, he went into hospital, and he had like some sort of infection, and it was like an infection in his stomach. And then he had sepsis. So sepsis is obviously life-threatening by itself. To be clear, sepsis is very, very serious. And with his heart condition and stuff like that, we were basically just like, this man's not going to live. He's not going to survive. He survived. He survived, which is really good news. But we kind of have the like difficult news of, he survived, but he's going to have mobility aids for the rest of his life. You know, he's going to be permanently disabled. And, you know, that's quite hard news. So I'm like, okay. So, you know, Tuesday was quite difficult. Then Wednesday comes along. And on Wednesday, I'm not in the office because, you know, I wanted to, like, keep an eye on the dog still. So I didn't go into the office that day. I just told, and a couple of other people weren't going in and stuff, so I just told boss, nah, I'm not going to, and here's why. And she was like, totally understandable. So I'm like, okay. So I didn't go into the office this week. Then on Wednesday, bear in mind, I was trying to also interview for other jobs as well. So at the end, after work on a Wednesday, I was like, okay, I need to do the last bit of this like take-home interview assignment task thing, do the last bit of that, and then submit it. And then I'm done. And I thought it was going pretty well. And I got like 99% there, and I had a look through it, and then I submitted it. And then immediately afterwards, I'm like, yeah, let's just run through it again. When I run through it, I spot a very obvious major bug which completely stopped the application from functioning. And I'd already submitted it. It wasn't something any of the unit tests or anything like that could have picked up either. It was literally only something you could discover by running it. So, yeah, that didn't go well. So, yeah. So, I basically, like, after work on Wednesday, I was in a really I was in a terrible, terrible mood. I was just like, I'm just a crap programmer now, clearly. Clearly, I'm a crap programmer. Clearly, I've just not learned anything over the entire 8 years I've been a software engineer. Clearly, I've not learned a single darn thing. And then I kind of thought about it more afterwards, and I'm like, this is a thing you would normally check. The reason why you didn't check it is because you were tired. You were done. This is why you didn't check it. Like, this is the kind of thing that happens all the time in software engineering, and is why you have safety gates. You have QA, you have PRs, you have quality gates. You'll like test things across different environments before you even think about putting it into production. This is why those safety gates exist, because humans are fallible. And AI is fallible too, to be very clear. AI is not an excuse to skip any of the safety gates. That's a terrible idea. Do not. Do not. I've seen some people being like, oh, because AI is a peer reviewer, that means you don't need a review from a peer. And I'm like, no, you need a peer review. You do. Yes, always. I don't care if you're pair programming, you still need a PR. Ideally by someone you didn't pair program with. PRs are important. And this is one of those things that illustrates why. So, because a PR might have surfaced this. It's the kind of thing where it was really subtle. It was literally like one line was wrong and one line was missing. I just needed to add like an extra line to the setup. 2 lines. Frustrating. So I was really annoyed with myself. So I don't think I'll get that one. No, I don't think I will at all. I'd be very surprised if I do. Thursday. I can't remember Thursday. I don't know. I can't even remember what I did on Thursday. I know what I did on Friday. Friday, I was just tired, pretty much. Thursday, I think Thursday and Friday, I was just exhausted. I was just done from, you know, the first few days of the week, just being like, oh my goodness, so much stress. So pretty much yesterday, I kind of said to myself, listen, you need to chill. You've got work today, you're working remotely, you need to chill. Work through everything really slowly and just calmly. I'm like, okay, fine. And then I found myself working kind of slowly, just being like not really having a goal for the day and just kind of like looking at one thing, being like, okay, let me just look at that. And then, okay, what's after that? What's after that? What's after that? For some reason, even though I wasn't trying to squeeze every tiny little bit of productivity out of me, the fact that I was approaching it slowly in kind of like a really chill and calm way and giving myself that space, it's like my most productive day of work ever. Like, how? Every single ticket I had moved across the board. A crazy amount of work I got done that day. And I wasn't trying to get a crazy amount of work done that day. I'd have stuff running in the background and I'd go off and do the washing and stuff like that. You would think that would be like anti-productivity, and it was the total opposite. I think a lesson is learned though, that maybe trying to squeeze out every tiny little bit of productivity out of myself is actually really bad for my productivity. Maybe? I don't know. I don't know what this means. I have no idea. What I do know is I have been spending far too long rambling about random things. And I should probably end this video. Yes, I should. Okay. Thank you very much, and goodbye. And that is a wrap. That is the end of the video. And isn't it fantastic? Because look who I've stumbled across this week, Magnolia. 13 subscribers, 45 views, her first ever video. I mean, come on, we have to welcome the person to YouTube now, don't we? Her video is fantastic. And look at beautiful fibers she's spinning. Wonderful narration, gorgeous. Honestly, just gorgeous, gorgeous video. We need to give this person lots of love. We do, absolutely, 100%. So now go give this person some love from me and from all of you. And for now, goodbye. Goodbye.